Well, well, well. Possibly the best Premier League game of the season has just finished with Chelsea 4, Manchester City 4 with a stellar game at Stamford Bridge. There is so much to go through in this game. Penalty decisions, poor refereeing, brilliant goals and brilliant play by a lot of players. I want to talk about everything in this video. First of all, Chelsea have definitely turned a corner. Chelsea were excellent against Tottenham, I thought. Obviously, Tottenham did have 9 men, but they were excellent in the end and they were excellent in this game and probably deserved a win in the end. It definitely seems like Chelsea's team is more set up to play against teams that have more possession against them and have the ball a lot more. They were excellent against Arsenal as well. It seems like when teams are better than them, they actually play a lot better as their counter-attacking system is a lot more suited to that. But nevertheless, they've gone from one of the most boring teams in the league that can't score a goal to one of the most interesting teams in the league that have scored 8 goals in the last 2 games, even under different circumstances against 2 top teams. And in this game, their attacking players were very, very impressive. Sterling, Gallagher, Jackson and Palmer as the front 4 were brilliant. I mean, Gallagher for me is man of the match. Probably it goes to Haaland with the 2 goals and an assist. But I think, honestly, Gallagher is the best player for Chelsea's team. His off-the-ball work is actually world class. And if he was anywhere good as on the ball as he is off the ball, then honestly, this guy would be a top player. But he's still a very, very good player. Off the ball, he was doing everything for Chelsea. Pressing, running down players, making sure every chance didn't get through. And it was brilliant. And you could tell this just from his defensive actions. He did 8 defensive actions, 6 recoveries and was only dual passed once. He only did 3 tackles, but he won 2 of them, so he did a brilliant job there as well. He was so good as well, just off the ball, running around and making sure they didn't get many chances in that midfield, Man City, so they had to keep pushing it out wide. Also, a big shout out for Bernardo Silva. I thought on the other side was very, very good, and obviously Haaland did well to score his goals. I thought Bernardo Silva really controlled the ball well and really did a lot of good work in that midfield. If we look at this game tactically, Manchester City actually set up a bit differently. I mean, they set up the same as they usually do, but they actually used Akanji as that inverted player to be in DM, rather than obviously Stones or someone else they would use last season. So it's very interesting that they would actually rather play Akanji in centre mid than anyone else in their midfield on the bench, like Nunez. And I'm guessing this was to try and stop the sort of quick counter-attacks that Chelsea could do, and they sort of wanted to have that cover with Rodri and Akanji. Quite a solid defence with the other 5 basically just going around, going up front. It didn't really work because Chelsea actually overloaded the midfield and actually had a lot more players in that centre of the midfield rather than Manchester City, because they're a lot more going forward. So they had Fernandes, Caicedo, Gallagher, Palmer and Sterling all really sitting in that deep role. This meant that they could pressure Walker and Gvardiol to basically put balls into the middle like they knew they were going to do, to try and intercept that and make sure that didn't happen. And once Chelsea had settled play, they liked using their wing backs as overlaps. Mostly Reece James. Cucurella didn't really go up that much forward because I guess they didn't trust him to not be back defensively, so they had Reece James be an overlap, and I thought Reece James was excellent in the first 64 minutes where he played until he came off. And not only James's attacking presence, he actually really defended Doku quite well, and Doku struggled this game to really make much presence. He kept getting into good positions but couldn't really do what he wanted with it and kept giving the ball away and making mistakes. This was honestly because of James's brilliant defending in the first half. However, they still needed some magic going forward, Chelsea, and Palmer and Sterling specifically I thought were brilliantly at just running past the players and just keeping the pressure. I mean, there was that chance in the second half where Palmer nearly ran past the whole team and couldn't get the finish away, and Sterling did this all game, which we know Sterling's very good at doing. This meant it weren't enough for Manchester City to just have their defensive players defend basically, and they had to get a lot more people come back and try and help them. They even had people like Alvarez and Bernardo Silva try and help their pressure in midfield because it weren't working at sometimes. But when Chelsea did try to commit, Man City were very good at trying to counter them as well, and we saw it with the goal just before the second half to make it 3-2 of Haaland. It was a brilliant counter-attack and Chelsea just committed too many players forward, and we kept seeing Manchester City overload Cucurella on that left. They targeted Cucurella quite a lot in this game. Cucurella likes defending with his back towards the goal, so he does this like crab movement to look where the players are going, and they kept just getting 2 men on him and he couldn't do anything about it. And then even with the pen, they got Haaland on him for most of the things because they knew that he was a lot stronger, and he definitely makes mistakes in the defensive box, even if the penalty shouldn't have been given. I also think Enzo actually was a bit underrated in this game. Enzo controlled the early stage of the build-up today, invaded the City press and kickstarted every Chelsea move down that left-hand side at the start, which is where they were the most dangerous in the game. Honestly, Enzo is elite in possession, and Gallagher, obviously people are talking about he's better, is elite out of possession. They're really different midfielder profiles, and I think Gallagher gets more credit because he is more of a flashy player with the eye-catching goals and assists that he may get over Enzo. And Enzo isn't really a number 10 compared to Gallagher, I think, but I do think Enzo was really important in this game. I also think players like Sterling and Palmer were best in this game because they actually played quite unpredictable passes and different movements. I mean, Sterling was all around just brilliant this game. We know how good he is at movement and running at players usually, but he had that other part of his game where he just did loads of different great passes that were very unpredictable for Manchester City to know where they were going. And even then, he should have got another assist with Gusto when Gusto hit it over. And despite Chelsea playing well, they found themselves 3-2 down in the second half, so they needed a bit something more. So they actually brought on Mudryk. Mudryk was brilliant as well when I thought he came on. He kept drawing players towards him. Manchester City had to focus a lot of effort on him, And even in that goal where Chelsea made it 3-3 with the Jackson rebound, it was all because of Mudryk down the left. He finally picked up the ball and just decided to run at the players, and it's a brilliant off the ball movement that makes it get into Gallagher in the first place, where he sees the pass and comes backwards. But he took out 3-4 players out of that game. Walker, Rodri and Foden all were there, and they just had to be on Mudryk because they know how quick he is and how much he could go past them. This left Chelsea a real good threat on the break because of his pace. And finally, it seems that Chelsea's attack is actually clicking in a way they can actually score goals and they all understand each other. And without doubt, one of their best signings in years has been Cole Palmer. I mean, he was absolutely phenomenal in this game, and it's not the first time he has been absolutely amazing since he signed for Chelsea. He's so good at drawing players in and then being able to go past them with quick movement. He is very much like Sterling, but instead of just necessarily just running at players all the time, he's so good at looking up and picking out the passes. He's so good with link-up play and just sitting deeper with Gallagher to make them chances. If you watch most Chelsea goals, he is definitely in the build-up somewhere. He's so good at just making everything tick along, and he's so good at making the right decision. At just 20 years old, it's just scary how good of a player he is. And that pressure penalty in the last minute against his old club brilliantly stuck away, and the celebration as well. As for Man City, they necessarily didn't really struggle going forward. They still scored 4 goals. I mean, they scored probably a lucky penalty, you can see, and a completely lucky Rodri deflection, but they still created a lot of chances where they could have scored more. Robert Sanchez made some good saves for Chelsea that kept them in it at some times, and Man City really could have scored more, but I do think that some of their finishing has been a bit awry recently, other than Haaland, of course. Specifically, I don't think Doku really could do much on the ball. He had the ball a lot, but couldn't really penetrate that defence and kept making mistakes over and over again, and eventually they brought him off in the 64th minute. I also think Alvarez in this game wasn't very good. I think he really struggled to get on the ball. As much he did get an assist in the end, but he didn't really do much if no one really saw him other than that. Because honestly, he likes playing a free roam and just likes walking around where he wants, and I think they had people on him the whole time with their man-to-man marking with Gallagher and off-the-ball movements brilliantly from Chelsea, so I think he really struggled to get any sort of space. And when Doku did come off in the 64th minute, they brought on Grealish. This is because Grealish often offers ball retention and pass volume, which allows City to keep the ball a lot more often, and I think when he came on, you saw that they did keep the ball a lot more often than rather just running at the team. However, they didn't really create much, to be honest, and they scored a lucky goal, you could say, and that was it. So really, they sacrificed the chances to really get a counter-attacking goal with Doku, and they really just went for the easy option with Grealish passing it around and trying to find that perfect opening, but Chelsea defended really well and actually didn't really happen with Rodri scoring that late deflected goal. And it was mostly just to get a lot of control for Manchester City in a game that was chaotic and end-to-end the most games, where most people's defences weren't really in positions because everything was just happening so quickly. As for the Premier League, it hots up the title race. There's 2 points between first and fourth, and I do really think Chelsea have a massive chance to get Europe this season. They're already improved heavily, but they need to do this against the smaller teams in the league and have preserved possession and actually beat them, rather than just being so good against all the big teams, because there's only so many and you can't keep playing them every week. But nevertheless, it's confident for Chelsea. I mean, against Tottenham, you could say they were lucky. Today, they weren't unlucky. They were very unlucky, I thought, and in the end, they did get a late penalty, but I thought they were excellent and deserved the point, and maybe even 3, so fair play to Chelsea. Let me know what you guys thought of this game. This was just sort of an instant reaction. I haven't really necessarily looked too much research in. This is just basically what I thought after the game, and it was just a quick thing. So let me know what you think I need to improve on, and thank you for watching.